There's a common misperception out there that grief only happens when you've lost someone that you love after they've died. And I just want to burst that myth with this short video. My name's Jenny Granger. I'm a transition coach. I've been coaching people through change for the last 20 years now. And this is Lila, and she's my doggie, and she's beautiful. She's been a companion of mine for how long? 11 years now. 11 years. And she's getting older, maybe 12 years. She's getting old. We used to go off on 3-hour-long hikes, and she would still come back wanting more. And now she can just about do maybe 30 minutes, and then she's a bit sore, and her hips are going, and her eyesight's not so great, and she's getting old. So each time I go out for a walk, I feel a moment of grief. And this week, in all my coaching sessions with clients, I've identified that they are experiencing some level of grief. They're shocked by this because not one single one of them has actually come to me because they've lost someone that they love or someone's died. But grief happens. Well, let's talk. I'll break it down a little bit. So the minute my mom was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, or Lou Gehrig's disease as it's called in the States, and the minute my dad was diagnosed with vascular dementia, my grieving process started. So if you're caring for someone, or a family member or someone you love has been given a terminal diagnosis, your grieving process doesn't just start when they die. You've already started. So that's one thing to be aware of. If a relationship is coming to an end, you're grieving, you're starting to grieve. When the relationship ends, you're definitely going into grief, because you're grieving the loss of an imagined future, and probably the loss of someone that had been very dear to you at some stage. We can go through grief when we are changing jobs, or when we know that a role in our life is having to change. So for example, many of you will have said goodbye to your kids this September as they've headed off to university, and you're now empty nesters. There's a lot of grief in that. And also, one of the things that's come up for quite a few of my clients this week has been the grief that they're experiencing as they move into their late 60s, early 70s, because they're getting older. So there's kind of grief for their vitality, and maybe some regret about things that they didn't achieve, that they didn't do, that they didn't grab life by its what I want to say there, grab life and live it more fully. So grief can come out in many different ways. If you find that you're crying a lot at the moment, or that you could cry at the drop of a hat, if you find that you're feeling very sad, there's a lot of heaviness, low energy, it's probably because you're going through some level of grief. Also, I just want to say that what I'm noticing collectively on planet Earth is there's a lot of grief in the collective consciousness at the moment, in the collective field at the moment. We're grieving our planet, which is clearly changing right before our eyes. The climate is changing before our eyes, so there's a grief of that. There's a grief for the potential loss of our human civilization, so there's a very existential grief going on here. There's war, there's all sorts of unrest and inequality and injustice going on in the world. There always has been, but we're seeing it more now because we have social media, and so we're seeing a lot more of it. So there's a lot of reasons to be grieving and to be very sad at the moment. So if you're feeling that way, most important thing is give yourself space to feel it. Normally what we do with grief especially is it's not a pleasant feeling. It brings, it opens our heart. So grief is all to do with love. If you're grieving, it's because you loved something. It's because of the loss of something you loved and cared about. And so it's coming from your heart. So give yourself space to dive into that heart space and really feel the grief, the sadness that's there. You might not want to do that when you're in the middle of your working day in your office, or in the middle of a meeting, or feeding the children, but maybe consciously making some time to sit down, not to sit down, to to just be with your grief, maybe do some journaling, some writing around it, and just really allow the feelings, allow the tears to come. After a good sob, after a good cry, there's always peace that comes after that. I love a good cry. I always feel better afterwards. So allow the release of the tears. Allow yourself to feel it. If we keep pushing the grief down, pushing the sadness down, then it just builds up and it builds up. And that's why we reach these moments of overwhelm and I can't cope, everything's too much for me, because we're not processing it as we go along. So I hope this video helps. Talk to your friends if you need to. Try and build up some kind of support system around you if you know that you're going through a period of grief for whatever reason. Or feel free to reach out to me for a free exploratory chat to see if transition coaching would be helpful for you. It's not grief counselling, but as I say, grief is a natural part of any transition. There is a period of letting go. As the kids leave home and you become an empty nester, you're letting go of a role in your life. So there's a grief that comes with that. I've just let go of a 6-year role, working role, and there was a huge amount of grief that went along with that as well this year. So it can come in different ways, and it also comes in waves. So it can take us off guard quite often. So feel free to reach out, but I hope that this short video at least might normalize a little bit of what you might be feeling right now. Namaste, and be gentle.